Hi, welcome to my channel and thank you so much for clicking on this video. I think this obsession started in late 2024 and early 2025 when I would see hundreds of Louise Carmen journals on my Instagram and YouTube. Louise Carmen is a very famous Parisian brand. It's a stationery brand. They're very well known for their journals, especially their trifold journal system. And if you're online, I'm sure you have seen these journals everywhere. Even if you're not aware of the name of the brand, I am certain that you have seen this journal format somewhere and they're undeniably beautiful. Like, how can a notebook look so lovely? And I wanted one for the longest time. And their most unique feature is the ability to customize your own journal. You can go to Paris, visit a store, and customize the journal, everything from the shade of the leather to the notebook that you insert and the string that you can add to the notebook, as well as the jewelry that you can use to adorn the notebook. Everything is a customizable experience, and that adds a lot of value and uniqueness to the Louise Carmen ecosystem. However, it did not take me very long, just an internet search, to realize that they are very expensive, somewhere around 160 euros, and that cost keeps adding up depending on how many charms you're using or the type of portfolio you add. Any addition just adds to the cost of the journal, and who knows, maybe one day I'll be able to go to Paris and get a journal from Louise Carmen, but for now that's not really a priority for me. However, I could not get this journal out of my mind. And of course, the internet came to my rescue. I saw so many DIY tutorials of the Louise Carmen journal online. And at first I was a little apprehensive. I kind of ignored them because I'm not an arts and craft person. I'm not very good at arts and crafts. So I followed a few tutorials. And when I say a few, I mean I was obsessed with these tutorials. Came to the realization that I can do it by myself. I can do this. This video includes not only a tutorial for the journal, but I went one step further to create my very own drawstring pouch. Today's video is a little different. The setup is completely different. This is my desk. Also, it is so gloomy outside. It's raining, it's pouring. It's honestly been so bad. There's absolutely no light. So I'm relying on these lamps for the lighting in this video. So I apologize if it's not as strong as natural light. So for the journal that I'm making, I've decided to go with an A5 size because that's just the size that I work with normally. But this will be a big chunky journal. Thing we need is a journal insert, like the actual notebook I'll be using in this journal. I've decided to go with an A5 size, and this is from a brand called My Paperclip. I also need some eyelets. I think they're also called grommets. A leather punching tool. This is to punch holes in the leather, and this is optional, like a pair of eyelets pliers if you want to install the eyelets. These two are like a kit. You'll also need some elastic string cord for the journal. This is what you'll need to insert the notebook in the leather cover. Charms are optional, but you can always use them to decorate the journal. I have collected a few charms. I'm thinking of using this heart on the cover of my journal. This is just a cute little ladybug. This is from a necklace. It's Murano glass from Venice, but I was just never using this, so I thought it would be a good idea to finally get some use out of something so pretty. A seashell and a small infinity charm. Any cutting tool of your choice. You could use a rotary cutter, a pair of scissors. I also have this cutting mat. It's in the A3 size. Also got this on Amazon. Everything's linked down below. I will be using like a rotary cutter, and that can cause a lot of furniture damage, especially with hammering. So that's when a cutting mat can really come in handy. A ruler for measurements. So the first step is measuring out the leather just to get the right size for the notebook. And a lot of people do use templates for their journal cover. For example, this is a template I got online from the Old Pink House. It's actually a really good template. The only issue is that it's a little small for my A5 notebook. It's very snug, so I won't be using this template. But if you want to make your own journal, looking for a template, this is a good option. Just get a notebook size that's slightly smaller than A5. The scrap of leather here has like weird edges, so I'm just going to trim those off. with a rotary cutter. I have never used this tool before, so I'm very scared. I've heard that this can cause a lot of accidents. It's pretty sharp, so I have to be careful. Since I'm not using a template, I'll just figure out my own sizing. So I'll put everything on the screen in case I mess it up, but I suppose it's going to be 41.5 centimeters and 23.5 centimeters. I'll have everything, all the measurements on the screen. So I'll just trace out my measurements on the leather with a pencil and a ruler. So the leather's cut to size around 39 centimeters and 25. Now I need to cut this a little because there are some imperfections. I want to clean out the edges. So I'm trying to arrange the notebooks like on the actual piece of leather, and I feel like there's a lot of gap between the journal and the leather. Like here, I want to shorten this gap a little, so I'll just adjust that. This is roughly 39 into 23 centimeters, and I am very glad about the size. Now it's time to fit the journals. I'm taking 2 journals, placing them right here, like somewhere near the center. And let's see how this looks. Okay. Oh wow, that actually looks really nice. I think I like this size. And as far as the trifold goes, I like it when the right side is not as big as the left. I want this part to be the face, the front of the journal. I've seen a lot of journals online where the edges are straight, but I don't know why I feel like rounding them out a little, but I am nervous. I don't want to mess up. So believe it or not, there's actually a dedicated tool for rounding out the corners on leather. It's called a leather corner punch. But I didn't want to get one because I knew I'd only be using it for this project. But there are other ways I've learned online. I've taken a small bottle, like something like this, which has a rounded bottom. I'm placing it like right here on the edge. I'll use a pencil to trace the outline. So I've traced an outline on all 4 edges, and using a pair of scissors, I'll just cut this part out. So it's time to move on to the next step, which is just as hard, if not harder, than cutting the leather, and that's installing the eyelets. Now, if you've seen a Louise Carmen journal, you must have noticed the gold, like grommets, I think they're called, on the spine. That's where you have the string, that's where you install the charms. So this is like a very important part of the journal making process. So here what I've done is I've taken my 2 journals, just placed them where I think I want them to be, and I'll flip the trifold just to see how it fits. I'm trying to get a sense where the spine is, and I feel like this is the point. Honestly, I feel like I'll be winging it for this one. I'm a little scared. I feel like this part right here is where the spine begins, so I'll just mark that down. And if I were to flip the trifold, I've kind of made a mark that this is where it ends. So the spine is roughly 3 centimeters wide. I divided that by half, and that's where I placed my first mark, which is roughly 1 centimeter from the top. And all these different marks, they're 1 centimeter away from each other. And the second mark is roughly 1.8 centimeters from the top. So we have 6 marks in total for 6 grommets on the top. I've done the same thing on the bottom. Now we get to the part which can be slightly tricky, and that's installing the grommets. For that, I'm using a leather punch hole. This is a tool that's specifically designed to cut through leather. Another pro tip, before doing it on your actual piece of leather, I would suggest getting like a strip, like a test strip, and working on that just to observe and learn how the eyelet installation actually works before you work on the good piece of leather, because this did take me like a few tries and even then it's not perfect. I'm using this tool, placing it on the mark and using a hammer till it cuts down through the leather and I can see a hole. Finally, I think after what feels like 10,000 years, I'm back. I've made 12 holes in the leather and this took me an hour. I ended up using an old cutting board that I don't use anymore, and this is what happens. So make sure you have a sturdy surface to work with. All right, now it's time to fit the eyelets, and this is again super stressful, but let's see how it goes. I'm taking the eyelet, like just this one right here, and pushing it into this hole and it fits. This is like a pair of eyelet pliers. They're supposed to fit this eyelet into place. So that's what I'm doing. Here we go. I'm pressing like really hard, making sure that this is like, I'm squeezing really hard right now. Okay, let's go. All right, that's something. It seems to be in place, but it's not perfect at all. But now we've got to hammer this down. I'm not sure if I've done a good job. This was hard work. Like, I wish I had a professional to help me through because the inside looks very wonky. At this point, I have to decide if I want an eyelet on the side or on the back. But I think I'm going to go for the side. I'll stick to the spine. After nearly 2,000 years, we're back, and this is what the journal cover looks like on the outside. Okay, I could have done a better job, especially with this one, like these two here, but I have to accept the fact that I'm not a craftsperson or an artist or a leather worker. Now it's time to add the strings, and finally it feels like this whole project is coming together. Adding the string is pretty straightforward. Let's take the first row right to the bottom hole. Then I'll flip the leather, and this is like the right side. Taking the string and putting it back in this hole. And then flipping it back. This is back to the inside of the journal. Pulling the string. Right. Then right here through this hole. Now this is the point where I have to stop and add a charm. I think I'll take the little seashell as my first charm and just add it to the string, like right here. And now I'll take the string and put it back in the first hole. And there you go. I think this is the right size for the string, so this is where I'll cut it. Right. And then I'll tie this together and double knot it. I still have some extra string left, and I'll just take my scissors and make a cut. I'm making sure that this is really tight, and it's okay if the leather just scrunches up a little. That's fine, because once I add my notebook, everything will stretch out. The string looks a little frayed, like right here, if you can notice that. That's simple enough to fix. All I need is my lighter, and there you go. Wow, I actually set it on fire accidentally. Please don't do that. That's it. I have 2 more strings to add, so I'll do the same thing. For this string, I'm taking a little ladybug, adding it right here, and then right back through the first hole, right at the top. We're down to the last string, and that's for our little spine right here. This is the string that goes in the front of the journal, and for this as well, I've decided to stick to the same color theme. This one's a little different. I'll first add in the charms. The 2 ends of the string, and push them through this little hole. This is the perfect amount, I suppose. And I'll just tie a knot. I'll double knot it just to make sure that the string doesn't move through the grommet. Double knot, I think that's fine. Now we have 2 charms right here in the front. All right, now we're down to the moment of truth, adding in the journal inserts, and I'm so excited to see how it all comes together. So let's go with the first string. I'm gonna open it right to the middle. I suppose this is fine. That is so beautiful. This is what it looks like right now, and I am just stunned that I was able to pull this off. This is the fabric I'll be using today to make my drawstring pouch. So now I have a piece of fabric that's roughly 77 centimeters long, and the reason why it's this long as compared to the journal itself is because I will be using only half of this, like folding the whole fabric so that it's halved. We've got this piece of fabric. The next thing to do is pretty simple. Make a very small fold just like this and iron it, right? So you have your steam iron and iron this whole thing down. All I've done is folded the fabric like twice and then pressed it down with a steam iron. I've done this on both sides of the fabric across the length. The next step is sewing this side down. Now you could use a sewing machine if you have one. I don't, so I'll be relying on a traditional like thread and needle. All right, I'm back with this fabric. So as you can see, I've stitched this part down right here, this whole piece of fabric. This is where we have to make like a tunnel. That's where those drawstrings will go. All I have to do is make one fold on the top, like a small fold, press that down, and then make a slightly bigger fold, press that down. And making a stitch right here, not here, not here. This part needs to stay open. I'll make a stitch like right at the base of this tunnel. I'm back with my piece of fabric and I've sewn this down. So I have my tunnel right here. And I've done this both on the top of the scrap as well as on the bottom. Next step is pretty simple. It's all coming together now. I'll fold these sides together in such a way that both these tunnels are connected. Now, if you notice, the tunnels are touching each other. I'll stitch these two parts of the fabric together, like right here, and I'll do the same on this side. Now, one thing to keep in mind, the stitching needs to start from this point, from the base of the tunnel, all the way to the bottom of the fabric. We're not going to stitch these two tunnels together because that will defeat the purpose. Both sides have been stitched together, so the whole bag has come together really well. This is the fun part, turning this inside out, and that's pretty simple. There you go. So this is the final look of the bag. There's only one step left, and that's adding the ribbons. So for that, I'm taking a safety pin, fixing the ribbon in the pin. This is like the hole of the tunnel. This is where I'll put the safety pin, like right here in, and try to fit the ribbon in the tunnel. It is a pretty big ribbon. So now all I have to do is push this pin through the tunnel. We won't stop here. I'll put the pin through the next tunnel right here. It's important to have a ribbon material that's very satiny and easy to work with. Aha, there you go. Oh, that looks so nice. Now it's time to repeat the same thing on the other side so that we have like a bit of drawstring right here on the other end. And for that, it's the same thing, taking a safety pin, pushing it through the ribbon, fixing it in place. And then instead of this side, I'll push the safety pin through the other end. There you go. Finally, we have our drawstring pouch, and this is how it works. This looks adorable already. I'm nervous. I want to see if it fits. So I think it's a good fit till now. Let's see what it looks like when I pull the ribbon. That is just lovely. This is absolutely wonderful. I can't believe that I was able to make this like myself. As you saw in the intro, this video is all about making my very own Louise Carmen inspired journal, and here we have it. It's absolutely stunning. Is it perfect? No, far from it, but does it serve my needs? Absolutely. I've been able to customize every single detail from the string to the material to all the accessories. They're all mine. I was expecting to have to look for industry level tools and equipment, and that wasn't the case. This is a very straightforward at home kind of project. And right now, where I am currently, I could not access a lot of products, so I had to rely on getting everything online. Some things I had lying around at home, like in my storage, so I will try my best to link everything down below, whatever I can remember. It's not a very expensive project as compared to the price of an actual Louise Carmen journal. These journals are also very similar to the Paper Republic journals or the Traveler's notebooks. There you go, that was pretty much the tutorial. I've tried to include like every detail that I could think of. So there are a couple of lessons that I would like to discuss before we say goodbye. As I mentioned in this video, it was very easy to get frustrated with the project, and that was my own fault. I ended up making a few more journals like for my family. It was so simple. Also, with the leather punch holes, I was getting so frustrated in the video because it took me like more than an hour. But when I was making the next set of journals, I realized that it was my mistake. I realized that I wasn't using enough force with the hammer. The grommets that I inserted, I mean, they look fine, but they're not like amazing, if I'll be very honest. Like, I could have done a better job, but I feel like I have to cut myself some slack. So making a few mistakes is all right. And even though I was trying to be very precise with the measurements, sometimes I just had to trust my gut and go with the flow. So investing in good materials is a good idea. Also, the string that you use, make sure it's good quality. I've noticed in a lot of DIYs, the reason why some journals don't look good is because of the string. It's too big, fat, or chunky, like in some DIYs online. So using a string that has the right amount of thickness can make this project look very professional and just cleaner. When it comes to the charms, you don't have to go out and buy the first thing you see. I'm sure you have a lot of things at home that you can use for your charms. For example, old earrings or maybe a necklace that you're not using anymore. So in conclusion, while it can be argued that this is far from perfect, I'm very happy I ended up making this journal. And if I'm being perfectly honest, now that I've made it, I wonder if I'll ever get a Louise Carmen, because I feel like this is just so much more worth it. It's more economical, more convenient, and now I don't have to worry about not having one. So I am so glad that I took this decision. Really makes a difference to create something, make something with your own hands. All right, there you go. That was pretty much it. I had so much fun, like so much fun filming this video. It was terrific. I tried to switch things up, show you my desk, and even though it was a different type of video, you can see it from my face that I'm overjoyed to have been able to create and make a Louise Carmen journal on my own. So thank you so much for watching. As always, I would be very grateful if you'd consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. It helps me a lot with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, I will see you very soon in the next one.